work from home seems to be here to stay, whether full-time or part-time. A lot of us are now working from home, which means we're spending a ton more time on video calls, staring at ourselves in those tiny little cubes. So how can we improve the backgrounds behind us on a Zoom call, on a video presentation, and things like that? In this Word Made Digital tutorial, we're going to talk about how to take any space and improve the background. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Word Made Digital Tutorials. I'm Joanna, and in these tutorials, we have a whole series of videos where we're trying to help you become a better communicator of what we call the best news in the world. You have an important message, an important thing to talk about, and the work you do really matters, and so we want to help you be better at communicating. So this tutorial is all about the background behind you, and I'm currently in my home office, and I wanted to give you a bit of a wider view as I dive into some tips about how to do this better. I wanted to show you even sort of behind the scenes, like what's off to the side there, and what's sort of happening around me, so we could talk about the background. So first of all, thank you so much to the Canadian Centre for Christian Charities who are making this whole tutorial possible. I want to tell you more about them later, but let's dive into our first tip. The first tip to improve your background in any Zoom or any video call or video recording is to reduce the noise. Take the noise down a few notches. That can mean as simple as having a plain blank wall, if that's the best that you can do. But you want to think about not filming where you can see like something very personal behind you, like a bed, or even I've seen video calls where you can see the bathroom, the toilet, the sink, all that stuff in the corner out behind them on the video call. We want to avoid that kind of noise. We want to reduce it and have a more simple, clean, thoughtful background. A background that makes it look like we thought about where we were, we thought about what's behind us, and we thought about the people and how they might perceive it. So now that we've reduced noise, the next thing we want to think about is lighting. It's really the number one thing to enhance your video. So whether all you are working with is natural lighting or you have some extra lights, you want to think about lighting, and if you're in the shadows or if you're out in front of people. So let me tell you about my situation here. You want to think about the lights in front of you, and you want to think about the lights behind you, even if you have a very basic setup. Lights in front of you light your face, and lights behind you, they can either fight against you, like if the light's behind you and it makes you in shadow, or if they're accent lights, they can actually enhance and provide depth to the video. So here's what we're working with. You can see, let's talk behind me because you can see it. There is a nice little neon sign. I've got the peace sign happening behind me. I do that to provide something of like visual depth. But the other thing that I have going on, which you can't see so well during daylight that we're working with now, that I use at nighttime more or in dark filming, is I have a couple of these. This is basically an LED light. And these LED lights come with a remote, so you can change the color, you can change the depth of it. And the idea of these LED lights is to provide depth behind me. So you can kind of see on the ground here where there's some purple there behind me, and that's actually some lights coming up. When you're filming in a dark room, you want to create dimension, and so you want to think about what you can do behind you. In this case, I bought these lights online for like $20. This is a cheap neon sign and cheap lights behind me. But you want to basically think about, is there a lamp you can add in the room? Is there something that you can put behind you on the floor to push up light on the wall? Something that can create texture and depth into your lighting experience. Now let's talk about the light that's in front of me. A lot of people use a ring light if they want to buy a light specifically for their calls. And ring lights are great. The only problem is if you're someone like me who wears glasses, every time you use a ring light, and I'm sure you've seen this on some of my own videos, when you use a ring light, you get the rings in your glasses and you get the rings in your eyes. It can be actually a really harsh kind of lighting sometimes, but a ring light is like an affordable, easy fix for how to do this. What I'm working with today is called the Elgato Key Light, but you can use really any, if you want to buy a light for your Zoom calls to enhance them, you can buy anything like an LED light that you can change. You want to think about lighting from daylight to nighttime light, and you want to think about, can it go brighter and dimmer depending on your needs. I mean, that would be ultimate. But the most important thing is if you can find a way where the window can be on that side of you, pushing light at your face. If you can sit in that kind of a situation, you're going to enhance the visuals of any Zoom call, any video presentation by having natural light pouring onto your face. We want to be able to see you. That's the most important thing. Tip number 3 is dimension. Now that we can see you, we want to think about texture, color, and shape. So behind me here, I've chosen some paint colors, and you can see if it will focus in on that, we have actually a plant there. The plant is providing just a little bit more texture. You can see some plants behind me over here, trying to add interest behind me that adds depth, color, and just movement behind you. I think sometimes the blank white wall can feel like you're talking to people like from a prison cell. And so anytime you can add a bit of depth and texture, that can be done through fabric, that can be done through plants. They're a great option. And hey, even a fake plant, if you get one of those from the dollar store or from IKEA or something, they don't cost too much and you don't have to water them. They're not going to die, but they make a great background behind you if you're using the same room all the time. So you want to think about plants, textures, and shapes to add interest behind you. A few thoughtful pieces that create movement and interest in the room that don't make you feel like you're talking to people from a prison cell. Tip number 4 is to think about your personality. Is there something that you can add behind you that adds a little hint about what you're like? You don't want to get too personal. This is a professional setting, but is there something like, maybe if you like cars, you have a small model car, or maybe you want to have a sign that has the name of your business, or maybe if you're working with scripture and Bibles, you want to have scripture and Bibles as part of your background. But if there's something you can add, so for me, I like the peace sign, and I have a few books over here. I actually have, if you could see up behind me here, there's a Russian doll, or actually it's a Ukrainian doll, and that helps me remember to pray for Ukraine. It's one of those things where you can open it up and the dolls are smaller and smaller inside. So I have that behind me right now to remind me to pray for Ukraine and to pray for the situation there. So whatever you can do to add some personality, people love to get to know you, even subtly, through what's behind you. So do you have a hobby, an interest? Do you like Lego? Do you like cars? Do you love books? Whatever it is, maybe you play an instrument, whatever it may be. If there's a small thing that you can add behind you to add personality, it really enhances the experience of your Zoom background. My next tip is about sound. And what I mean is not just sound like microphones and things that are recording your sound. We've talked about that in a few other videos, so you can go check out tutorials if you want to know more about setups for great, affordable, mid-price, and high-end audio. What I'm talking about here is actually about the sound in the room. So thinking about fabric, thinking about texture. If you're in a room that's really echoey, is there a way for you to add a rug to the room? Is there a way for you to have curtains that absorb some of the echo? Is there a way for you to maybe consider moving to a space in your home that doesn't have cavernous echoing around the room? Anything you can do to find a space that's going to absorb some of the sound. It's going to just enhance the experience of your recording, your Zoom call, or whatever you may be doing with a visual presentation over video. Hope these tips help you as you're setting up your home office and as you're thinking about what you can do on the road as you travel with your work and how to make your Zoom experience, your Zoom background, even better than it is. We're all online all the time, and so it's a good thing for us to think about. Well, thank you so much to the Canadian Centre for Christian Charities who are making this tutorial and a whole series of these tutorials possible. The Canadian Centre for Christian Charities is helping you with the methods while you focus on your mission. As a Christian charity in Canada, there's all kinds of things to think about. And I know when I've been working in those settings, they were members of the Canadian Centre for Christian Charities. Why? Because they act like an extra arm of your ministry. You don't need to necessarily know all the things, and you don't know all the things about HR policy or board governance, or maybe you have administrative questions. Maybe you have questions about taxes, donation receipts, all that kind of stuff. The Canadian Centre for Christian Charities is a resource that wants to support you in these areas. Membership is surprisingly affordable, and considering you have a whole army now of people behind you, they have a support help desk helping with charity guidance. They can help you with things like drafting policies. They can provide training that points you in the right direction. They can often save you not just time, but money. And don't we all need more of that when we're running charities? So membership is super affordable, and I have a link down in the show notes if you want to check them out. But there is a free webinar about what's required of your ministry to maintain its charitable status in Canada. cccc.org/free. cccc.org/free. And as I said, the link will be down in the show notes, but we want you to be thinking about how to maintain your charitable status in Canada and all these things that you as a charity leader, as a Christian ministry person, you probably don't think about a lot of the time. That's why the 4Cs is there to support you. So thanks so much. See you on the next tutorial.